Two young men push past an elderly Chinese woman sweeping the sidewalk outside Bruce Lee's school. Her broom falls. They don't look back. They're here for their appointment with Bruce Lee, here to learn Kung Fu, to become powerful, to be unstoppable. 10 minutes later, they'll walk out crying, not from physical pain, from shame, because Bruce Lee just taught them the first lesson of martial art. Power without respect is just violent. And what happens over the next 30 days doesn't just transform two arrogant young men. It honors a woman the world tried to make invisible. Los Angeles, California, Chinatown, September 1969. Morning, 9 a.m. The street is already bustling. Shopkeepers are opening their shop. Vendors are setting up their stall. The smell of steaming buns and roast duck mixes with car exhaust and the scent of morning coffee. This is working-class Chinatown, not a tourist area. A real neighborhood where real people live real lives. Mrs. Wong is sweeping the sidewalk, 68 years old.
150 Zentimeter tall.
Maybe 40 kilos. Her gray hair is pulled back in a tight bun. She's wearing simple clothes, cotton pants, button-down shirt, apron, comfortable shoes with worn heels. She's been sweeping this block for 12 years. Every morning, 6 days a week, rain or shine, hot or cold. This is her job, her responsibility, her contribution. I'm pausing the video for a second. I dedicate time to making videos for you every day. I ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. The sidewalk is outside several businesses, a grocery store, a restaurant, and the Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute. Bruce Lee's school, second floor, accessed by stairs between the grocery and restaurant. Mrs. Wong sweeps them all, takes pride in her work, makes sure the sidewalk is clean, safe, welcoming. Nobody pays her much attention. Cleaning people are invisible, especially elderly immigrant cleaning people. The world has trained itself not to see them, not to acknowledge them, not to value them. Mrs. Wong doesn't mind. She's not seeking recognition, just doing her job, supporting herself, maintaining dignity. She immigrated from Guangdong 40 years ago, raised 3 children working cleaning job. All 3 graduated college, have good careers, families of their own. They want her to retire, want to support her, but Mrs. Wong refuses, says work gives her purpose, gives her structure, gives her dignity. She'll work until her body won't let her anymore. She's sweeping near the entrance to Bruce Lee's school when she hears them. 2 young men walking down the street, laughing, loud, confident, taking up space the way people do when they've never been told to make themselves smaller. Both white, early 20s, well-dressed, expensive clothes, designer jeans, leather jackets, the kind of people who've never worried about money, never worried about belonging, never worried about anything. Their names are Derek and Jason, college friends, USC students, rich families, bored, looking for something exciting, something dangerous, something that makes them feel powerful. They discovered martial arts movie, became obsessed, decided they need to learn Kung Fu, not for discipline, not for philosophy, for power, for the ability to dominate, to be feared, to be dangerous. They researched school. They heard about Bruce Lee, the real one, the guy from the movies, the one who really knew how to fight. They want to learn from the best. They want to tell people they trained with Bruce Lee. They want that credibility, that reputation, that borrowed power. They walk toward the entrance. They talk. They don't pay attention. Mrs. Wong is in their way, sweeping, focused on her work. They don't slow down. They don't change their path. They don't notice her presence. They walk straight into her space. Derek's shoulder bumps into her. Mrs. Wong stumbles. Her broom falls. She tumbles on the pavement. She grabs onto the wall. She doesn't fall, but barely. Derek doesn't stop. He doesn't apologize. He just says over her shoulder, "Watch where you're going, old lady. Get out of my way." Jason laughed. "Maybe you should sweep somewhere else. You're blocking the pavement." They walk past her and go up the stairs, laughing, proud of themselves, feeling superior and powerful. They don't realize they've failed their first test. They don't realize Bruce Lee is watching them from the window above. He saw every moment, every move, every choice. So, how would you react if a similar moment happened to you? Or if you've experienced a similar situation, would you share it with us in the comments? Mrs. Wong takes her broom. She doesn't complain. She doesn't yell after them. She just keeps sweeping. This isn't the first time. It won't be the last. She had learned to accept ordinary cruelty. She had learned to remain invisible. She had learned that resisting only made things worse. It's better to stay silent, to stay invisible, to stay safe. But Bruce Lee doesn't stay silent. He doesn't accept cruelty. He doesn't believe in remaining invisible. He watches Mrs. Wong take her broom. He watches her go back to her work. He watches her accept the disrespect as normal, as deserved, as insignificant. And he makes a decision. Derek and Jason reach the top of the stairs, open the door to the school, walk into the reception area. Small space, desk, chair, photos of Bruce on the wall, tournament victories, television appearances, training session, the evidence of excellence, the proof of mastery. A young woman sits at the desk. Linda Lee, Bruce's wife. She manages the school, handles appointments, schedule, administration. She looks up, sees Derek and Jason, says, "Good morning. Do you have an appointment?" Derek says, "Yeah." 9:15, Derek Morrison and Jason Park. "We're here to see Bruce Lee." Linda checks the schedule, nods, says, "You're right on time. Let me tell Bruce you're here. Please have a seat." She walks to the training area, knock, enters. Bruce is there, warming up, stretching, preparing for the day. Linda says, "Your 9:15 appointment is here. Derek Morrison and Jason Park." Bruce says, "I know. I saw them arrive." Linda reads his tone, says, "Is something wrong?" Bruce says, "They pushed Mrs. Wong, knocked her broom down, didn't apologize, didn't even look back, just kept walking like she doesn't exist." Linda's face hardened. She knows Mrs. Wong, talks to her sometimes, brings her tea on cold morning. Mrs. Wong is kind, sweet, dignified. The idea of someone treating her roughly makes Linda angry. Linda says, "Do you want me to cancel the appointment?" Bruce says, "No, I want to teach them something. Bring them in." Linda returns to the reception area, says to Derek and Jason, "Bruce will see you now. Follow me." They follow her through the training space. Hardwood floors, mirrors, heavy bag, Wing Chun dummy, equipment, simple, functional, no fancy decoration, no commercial atmosphere, just a place to train, to learn, to transform. Bruce stands in the center of the space, waiting. Derek and Jason approach, excited, nervous. This is Bruce Lee, the legend, the master, the guy from the movie. They're about to train with him, about to become his student, about to become powerful. Derek extends his hand, says, "Mr. Lee, I'm Derek Morrison. This is Jason Park. We're huge fans. We've watched all your films, seen all your fights. We want to learn Kung Fu, want to learn from the best." Bruce doesn't shake his hand, just looks at him. Direct eye contact, steady, evaluating, reading. Derek's hand hangs in the air, awkward, rejected. He pulls it back, confused, uncertain. Bruce says, "Why do you want to learn Kung Fu?" Derek recovers, says, "To be powerful, to be feared, to be able to defend ourselves, to be dangerous." Jason adds, "Yeah. We want to be like you. Fast, skilled, unstoppable. We want people to respect us." Bruce says, "Respect or fear, those are different things." Derek says, "Both. We want both." Bruce says, "Let me ask you something. Did you respect the woman outside? The one sweeping the sidewalk?" The question catches them off guard. Derek says, "What woman?" Bruce says, "The elderly Chinese woman. The one you pushed. The one whose broom fell. The one you didn't apologize to. That woman." Silence. Derek and Jason exchange look, uncertain, defensive. Derek says, "Oh, that was an accident. We didn't see her." Bruce says, "You didn't see her? Or you chose not to see her? There's a difference." Jason says, "Look, we're sorry if we bumped into her. But what does that have to do with Kung Fu?" Bruce says, "Everything. It has everything to do with Kung Fu. You came here wanting power, wanting to be dangerous, but you already know how to be dangerous. You proved that outside. You used your size, your strength, your position to push past someone weaker than you, someone who couldn't fight back, someone you decided didn't matter. That's violent. That's what you already know how to do." Derek gets defensive, says, "We didn't hurt her. We just bumped her. It wasn't a big deal." Bruce says, "To you, it wasn't a big deal to you, but to her, an elderly woman pushed by two large men, her broom falling, her balance compromised. Do you think that felt safe? Do you think that felt respectful? Do you think that felt like nothing?" Bruce says, "You want to learn Kung Fu so you can be powerful, so you can dominate, so you can make people fear you. But power without respect is just brutality. Strength without compassion is just violence. If I teach you Kung Fu, make you faster, stronger, more skilled, what do you think you'll do with that? If you can't even show basic respect to an elderly cleaning woman, what will you do when you're truly dangerous?" Jason says, "That's not fair. You're judging us based on one moment, one accident." Bruce says, "I'm judging you based on a choice. You chose to walk through her instead of around her, chose not to apologize, chose not to acknowledge her, chose to treat her as invisible, as worthless, as less than. That wasn't an accident. That was character, and character determines what you do with power." Bruce says, "I can teach you techniques, kick, punches, block, make you formidable fighters. But if your character is flawed, I'm just creating dangerous people, giving weapons to people who've already shown they'll use force against the weak. That's not martial art. That's creating bully." Derek says, "So you won't teach us? Because of one mistake." Bruce says, "I'll teach you, but not Kung Fu. Not yet. First, you'll learn something more important. You'll learn respect. You'll learn to see people you've been trained to ignore. You'll learn that strength means protecting the weak, not dominating them. You'll learn that power is responsibility, not privilege." Bruce walks to the door, opens it, says, "Follow me." Confused, Derek and Jason follow. Down the stairs, out to the sidewalk. Mrs. Wong is still there, still sweeping, still working, still invisible to most people passing by. Bruce approaches her, speaks in Cantonese, gentle, respectful. Mrs. Wong looks up, surprised, honored. Bruce Lee is talking to her, acknowledging her, seeing her. Bruce gestures to Derek and Jason, says in English so they understand, "Mrs. Wong, these two young men would like to apologize to you." Derek and Jason stand there, embarrassed, caught. They mumble, "Sorry." Bruce says, "No, a real apology. Look at her, acknowledge her, treat her like a human being who deserves your respect." Derek, more sincerely this time, says, "Mrs. Wong, I'm sorry I pushed you. I wasn't paying attention. I should have been more careful. I'm sorry I made you drop your broom. I'm sorry I was rude." Jason echoes, "I'm sorry too, for laughing, for being disrespectful. It was wrong." Mrs. Wong nods, gracious, says in accented English, "Is okay. Thank you." Bruce says, "Mrs. Wong, I have a proposition. These two young men want to learn Kung Fu, but before I teach them how to fight, they need to learn how to serve. Would you accept their help? They will sweep the sidewalk with you every morning for 30 days, 6 days a week. If they complete 30 days, if they show up every day, work beside you, learn from you, then I will consider teaching them Kung Fu. But if they miss even one day, my school's doors close to them forever." Mrs. Wong looks surprised, looks at the two young men, sees their expensive clothes, their privilege, their shock. She smiles slightly, says, "Okay, I accept." Bruce turns to Derek and Jason, says 6 a.m. every morning for 30 days. Bring gloves, bring good shoes, bring humility. Mrs. Wong will teach you what I can't. And if you learn, if you truly learn, then maybe you'll be ready for Kung Fu. Maybe. Derek says 6 a.m.? That. Bruce interrupts, says, "That's when Mrs. Wong starts. That's when real work begins. If you're not willing to do what she does, to work like she works, to show up like she shows up, then you're not ready to train with me. Martial arts isn't about being powerful. It's about being disciplined. It's about showing up. It's about respecting the process and the people." Mrs. Wong embodies all of that. Learn from her. Bruce walks back to his school, leaves Derek and Jason standing on the sidewalk, stunned, humiliated, angry. They came here to learn how to fight. Now they're being told to sweep sidewalks with an old lady for 30 days at 6 in the morning. This isn't what they signed up for. This isn't what they wanted. Jason says, "This is ridiculous. Let's find another school." Derek hesitates, looks at Mrs. Wong. She's already back to sweeping, not paying attention to them, not expecting anything from them. She's used to people like them. People who see right through her. People who don't follow through. People who disappoint. Something in Derek shift. Maybe it's shame. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's the realization that Bruce Lee, the master they came to learn from, sees something in this task. Something important. Something Derek doesn't yet understand but wants to. Derek says, "No, let's do it. 30 days. Let's prove him wrong. Or prove ourselves right. Whatever. Let's do it." Jason looks at him like he's crazy. Says, "You're serious?" Derek says, "Yeah. I'm serious. We came here to learn from Bruce Lee. This is what he's teaching. So let's learn." The next morning, 6 a.m., Derek and Jason show up, shocked to find Mrs. Wong already there, already working. She's been there since 5:45, getting a head start. She nods at them, hands them brooms, says simply, "We start here." The first day is brutal. Not physically, sweeping isn't that hard, but mentally, emotionally, they're sweeping a sidewalk at 6 in the morning, while their friends are sleeping, while the world doesn't care, while nobody notices. They feel stupid, embarrassed, angry. This isn't Kung Fu. This isn't what they wanted. But Mrs. Wong works steadily, methodically, taking pride in her work, making the sidewalk clean, safe, beautiful. She doesn't complain, doesn't rush, just work with dignity, with purpose, with quiet satisfaction in a job done well. Day 2, Derek and Jason show up again, tired, sore, not from the sweeping, from waking up at 5:30 a.m., from the unfamiliarity of manual labor, from the discomfort of being out of their element. But they show up. Mrs. Wong nods, proving, hands them brooms. They work. Day 5, Jason almost quits, says this is pointless, says they're wasting their time, says Bruce Lee is just messing with them. Derek convinces him to continue, says they committed to 30 days, says they should see it through. Jason reluctantly agrees. Day 7, Mrs. Wong brings them tea, homemade, from her apartment, shares it during their break. They sit on the step, drinking tea with an elderly cleaning woman, learning her name, her real name, not just Mrs. Wong, learning she's a widow, learning she has 3 children, learning she's worked cleaning jobs for 40 years, learning she's proud of her work, proud of her independence, proud of her life. Day 10, Derek starts asking questions about her life, her immigration story, her struggle, her triumph. Mrs. Wong shares, tells them about arriving in America speaking no English, about cleaning offices at night while learning English from discarded newspaper, about raising 3 children alone after her husband died, about every job she's worked, every hardship she's endured, forward. Every victory she's achieved, Derek and Jason listen, really listen, start seeing Mrs. Wong differently, not as an old cleaning lady, as a person, a whole, complex, remarkable person who's lived an incredible life, who's survived things they can't imagine, who's maintained dignity and grace through decades of invisibility. Day 15, halfway point. Derek and Jason are different now. They arrive early, chat with Mrs. Wong while they work, learn Cantonese phrases from her. She teaches them, laughs at their pronunciation, corrects them gently. They're not just sweeping anymore. They're connecting, learning, growing. Day 20, Mrs. Wong tells them about her childhood in Guangdong, about the war, about the poverty, about the hunger, about watching people die, about surviving when survival seemed impossible, about finding beauty in small things, about maintaining hope when hope seemed foolish. Derek and Jason are speechless. Their biggest problems, their biggest struggles, seem trivial in comparison. Day 25, 5 days left. Derek doesn't want it to end. This 30-day punishment has become something else, has become friendship, has become education, has become transformation. He's learned more from Mrs. Wong than from any teacher. Learned about resilience, about dignity, about quiet strength, about showing up, about taking pride in work, about seeing people who society trains you to ignore. Day 30, the final day. Derek and Jason arrive with flowers, a card, a gift. Mrs. Wong is touched, surprised. They sweep together one last time. When they finish, they don't want to leave, don't want this to end, but it's time. Time to see if Bruce will honor his promise. Time to see if they've learned what they needed to learn. They go upstairs to Bruce's school. Knock, enter. Bruce is there, waiting. He looks at them, says, 30 days. You completed it. I'm impressed. Derek says, we learned more in 30 days with Mrs. Wong than in 4 years of college. She taught us about real strength, real dignity, real power, the power to show up, to work, to maintain grace when the world tries to make you invisible. That's what we learned. Bruce nods, says, then you're ready to begin learning Kung Fu, because now you understand Kung Fu isn't about being powerful. It's about being responsible, about protecting the weak, about serving others, about using strength to build up, not tear down. Mrs. Wong taught you that. Now I can teach you techniques, because now you have the character to use them correctly. Derek and Jason train with Bruce for the next 3 years, become skilled martial artists, but they never forget Mrs. Wong, never forget those 30 days, never forget the lessons about seeing people, about respecting work, about understanding that everyone has a story, everyone has value, everyone deserves dignity. In 1975, Derek and Jason open their own martial arts school. They name it Wong's Legacy. Mrs. Wong is the guest of honor at the opening, sits in a place of honor, gets introduced to everyone, gets celebrated, gets seen, gets valued. Finally, publicly, completely, Derek gives a speech, says, this school exists because an elderly cleaning woman taught us what martial arts really means, taught us that strength without character is just violence, that power without respect is just brutality, that the real test of your training isn't how many people you can beat up, it's how many people you can lift up. Mrs. Wong lifted us up, taught us to see, taught us to serve, taught us to be better. This school is her legacy, and we'll make sure everyone who trains here learns what she taught us. Mrs. Wong cries, happy tears, honored tears, visible tears. For 70 years, she's been invisible. Now she's being seen, celebrated, honored, not for changing who she is, for being exactly who she's always been. Dignified, hardworking, kind, strong, just strong in ways the world doesn't usually recognize. Until Bruce Lee made sure they did.
Bruce Lee dies in 1973.
But his lesson lives on, through Derek and Jason, through Mrs. Wong, through everyone who learns that martial arts begins with character, with seeing people, with respecting people, with understanding that real power is lifting others up, not putting them down. Mrs. Wong continues working until she's 75, then retired, but visits Wong's Legacy twice a week, sits, watches, encourages students, shares her story, becomes part of the school's foundation, part of its soul. Students learn Kung Fu techniques, but they also learn Mrs. Wong's story, learn about 30 days, learn about sweeping sidewalk, learn that before you can master martial arts, you must master yourself, must master respect, must master seeing. The story spreads, gets retold, gets taught, becomes legendary, not because of fighting, because of transformation, because two arrogant rich kids learned to see an invisible woman, learned to value her, learned to honor her, and built their entire lives on that foundation.
Mrs. Wong dies in 1992.
89 years old. Her funeral is attended by hundreds. Students from Wong's Legacy, people she cleaned for, people whose lives she touched. Derek and Jason speak, tell the story, the 30 days, the sweeping, the lesson, the transformation. They say, Mrs. Wong never threw a punch. never did a kick, never stepped into a fighting ring. But she was the greatest martial artist we ever met, because she showed us what real strength looks like. Dignity under hardship, grace under invisibility, pride in work, service to community. That's martial art. That's what she taught us. That's her legacy. At her funeral, they reveal a plaque. Bronze. Beautiful. It reads, "That's martial art. That's what Mrs. Wong taught. That's what lives forever."